There's an issue with small businesses having good content that they could show off their work. I wanted to find a way to provide them service that was accessible. Currently, I'm facing how to scale. Every city has a different culture. You have to scale in that culture.
Hi, my name is Jasmine, and I am here with another episode of Producer's Corner, where we spotlight diverse voices and creators in East Multnomah County and beyond. And today we are talking with Jessica Vanterpool. Originally from Florida, Jessica has rooted herself here in Portland as a multimedia talent. She is the founder of FLI Social, a creative media company dedicated to highlighting the work of small businesses. She has also founded a PDX Black Unicorn, which is a directory for Black hair care in the city. She also currently sits on the board of directors here at MetroEast. And now my conversation with Jessica. First off, I wanted to start by asking a little bit more about your background, where you're from, what you do, how you got your start.
Yeah, so like you said, born in Tallahassee, Florida, which is a very small city. I remember growing up and always being bored and just couldn't wait to leave. But I ended up going to college there at FSU, majoring in mechanical engineering, and then graduated and then went to grad school at University of Central Florida in Orlando. And I ended up having an internship out here in Portland, and then went back to Orlando and ended up getting an offer for full time, and then ended up coming out here. And initially, I was like, I'm just gonna stay here for 2 years, and then I'm leaving. But 10 years later, I'm still here. And, I ended up quitting that job maybe 6 or 7 years later and working on FLI Social full time.
Wow. So I'm curious to know about like that transition that happened between quitting your job and starting your own company, because that's like a really great task to take on. So what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, but I think when I started working as an engineer, maybe 2 years into it, like it was a realization of the corporate engineer life was maybe not for me. I enjoyed college as an engineer, all the projects and learning and collaborating, but I think corporate is a little bit different. And so maybe like 4 years into like working as an engineer in corporate, I ended up creating the PDX Black Unicorn platform and learning how to use the camera by highlighting different stylists in Portland. So just doing like mini interviews, taking pictures and using it as content on the page, and also using it on Instagram to build that platform. And as that evolved, like people began asking me, like, hey, can you take these pictures? Is this a service you provide? And I'm like, what? You can get paid for this? But it just kind of evolved into a point where I realized that there is an issue with small businesses having, good content that they could show off their work. Many of the businesses that I would work with, they would be amazing, but if you go to their social media pages, like you probably barely know they existed. So I wanted to find a way to provide them service that was accessible.
Yeah, totally. I think it's really interesting that you target small businesses specifically. And I feel like for this area, the area of Portland, there are so many small businesses that I feel like people don't recognize enough. So, was there like anything specific about a business, or was it just kind of like this overarching issue that you noticed that you wanted to target them specifically?
I think initially it ended up being focused on minority owned businesses. I saw the issue largely there. Um, I wouldn't say anything specific. Now it's kind of like, Fly Social offers service to everyone, but the focus is for minority owned businesses, making it accessible. But yeah, I can't say that there's anything specific.
Yeah, totally. And that makes sense that you have sort of evolved it into something bigger and more encompassing now. But I'm curious to hear more about Fly Social and sort of like where you started and where you're at now with the company.
Yeah, so Fly Social started out with just me. Um, I didn't mention before, but in 2020, when everyone else was quitting their jobs, I decided to quit mine. I think throughout my engineering career, like I knew that I was super passionate about what I was working on the side, and I didn't really enjoy the work that I was doing as an engineer. Most of the times I would be thinking about how else can I help these businesses. And 2020, like having to stay at home and work on something that you don't want to was terrible. It
Yeah, I
was a
can imagine.
nightmare. So that kind of pushed me into making that decision to leave. And it was just me originally. And it was good because it was an opportunity to learn how to operate the business with, when it grows. So my very first customer was Mimi's Fresh Teas. And it was crazy because during the pandemic, her business essentially blew up because of what it represented and what was going on in Portland at that time. The protest, and her business is making teas for like special messages or, Black Lives Matter or things of that nature. And her business essentially blew up. So it was crazy having her as my first customer and managing that and then growing after that. Like today, we have over 60 freelancers in our directory. And sometimes you kind of don't pay attention to the growth until you actually sit down and look at the numbers because 2020, it was just me. And then 2021, me and a few other people. And then it just kind of like kept growing and getting enough work for everyone to get work.
Yeah, totally. I'm curious to hear about like how your workflow has changed now that you have 60 people on your team and it's no longer just you. Like how have things had to evolve within your company?
Yeah, that's a good question and something I'm dealing with today. Scaling. Um, Basically, more like other people are doing the work and it's not just me. And that is the goal. Even in 2020, I wanted it to just be giving opportunities to freelancers. There's a lot of people in the directory who just moved here to Portland. They don't have any connects or networks, and Fly Social kind of serves as a place to get some opportunities and also grow your opportunities as well. So today, Fly Social is more of a behind the scenes, kind of like managing the connections and scheduling things, more of operations for me. And I still work with clients who I've worked with initially when the business got started, but all the new things go to freelancers.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you're providing that opportunity, especially like saying that there's people coming in from out of town, because it sounds like that was your experience. Like you came from Tallahassee to Portland, and now you're sort of like continuing this circle, this cycle of like making work, finding and making work. So I think that's really cool. I did want to go back to PDX Black Unicorn and sort of like ask you about how that started and how that and FLI Social have kind of like interacted with each other. Are they two separate entities, or do you consider them a unit?
Yeah, initially I considered them to be a unit, but now they're totally separated because they're just two different things. I'd say PDX Black Unicorn started when I first moved to Portland. My dad passed away, and that like made it really important for me to do something I loved.
Yeah.
And so PDX Black Unicorn kind of started out of me like looking for my passion
Yeah.
because work was just, I just felt nothing. So I was like, okay, it's important. It just made it really important for me to find a purpose, a passion, something I loved. And PDX Black Unicorn came from that. And it also came from me not being able to find a black hairstylist for my wedding.
Totally.
Yeah, it was difficult. I ended up finding one, but I was like, this is way too difficult. Like everything should just be in one place. And if you think about it, that's kind of my specialty because FLI Social is similar. It's a directory. PDX Black Unicorn, a directory. I think life is easier if you just put everything on one page together so people can figure it out easily.
Yeah. That's a really great way to put it. And I feel like, you know, especially as creatives, like we can find a lot of different passions. So, like with FLI Social, it's video, photography, and social media as well. So, having all of those things combined, I feel like creates something really unique, like a multimedia experience. So, I think that's really neat because like you're saying, you're creating like these connections for people. Another question that I had is, so we know about your background with FLI Social and PDX Black Unicorn. How did you get to be on the board of directors for MetroEast? How did that relationship to come about?
Yeah. Yeah, so that happened with my relationship with Rosewood Initiative. Fly Social does a lot of work with that nonprofit, taking pictures and videos. And someone that works there actually recommended me to be on the board. And I felt like it was aligned with what I'm doing, and I was excited about it. So I had the conversation, filled out the application, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah. And how is that work that you do different from your other work at FLI and PDX Black Unicorn?
It's it's a window into what happens behind scenes, like what keeps everything going. So it's actually growing me and also like exposing me to another side of things. So I think it's a great opportunity to like continue to grow.
Yeah. How do you feel like with like the work that you've done overall, what are some challenges that you've come across? It seems like you do a lot of different types of work and you obviously have like big leadership roles. So what are some things that you found difficult?
Time is one of them.
Time.
Time is one of them. Currently, I'm facing how to scale Fly Social. So I want to be in other cities and just trying to figure out creative ways of connecting with other photographers and videographers. Like I'm trying to have a place in LA to start being able to get work and connect freelancers out there. And scaling is very hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I didn't realize that until, I'm really, really planning on it and just hoping like it works out. We have had some successes, but Portland's obviously the hub, the home. And also Portland has taught me a lot running business here. So
Yeah.
the hard part is every city has a different culture. So it's like you have to figure out what that is and try to scale in that culture.
Yeah. I definitely see what you mean by culture, specifically here, but I'm curious to hear more about like your point of view, especially like coming from outside of this
Yeah.
area. Like what do you think of the city and like sort of like the media community here?
Yeah, I think Portland is actually easy. It's not as big. If we compare it to LA, it's not as big as LA, but that also makes it really good for networking. 9 times out of 10, everyone's connected maybe by one person. And I always make the joke like, Portland's a city. If you want to be anything, you can make it happen. Like, one time I was doing DJing, and
Oh,
I mean, you can say you want to be anything in Portland, and somebody would be like, "Oh yeah, you want to DJ next weekend?" So it's that city to practice, to grow, to meet amazing people. The media community is amazing. Like, it's very easy. People are down to help and talk to you, whereas like a city like LA is a lot bigger. There's low chances of people knowing one another. Or, I have a lot of friends in LA, but they all live so far away from each other.
yeah.
It's just harder to, you just have to figure out how people network, essentially.
Yeah. I definitely agree. That's part of what's kept me here in Portland. Like I grew up in this area in Gresham, and as a media maker myself, I found like the close-knit community to be something that I'm really need, like that sense of camaraderie between people and like everyone kind of just helping each other out or helping each other with like connections. Like how you mentioned that you had a connection through Rosewood Initiative and that got you to
Exactly.
Metro.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's really special about this area, and I'm glad that you recognize that as well. And sort of on a different note, what is something that you're most proud of out of like all of the work that you've done? What is one thing that stands out to you the most?
With Fly Social or
It can be anything. It
anything.
could be like your companies or even just like on a personal, like a personal project that you've done.
I'd say having the courage to go after my passion and not think with my head so much about what if and what is this going to happen, like taking the risk,
Yeah.
because it's scary. I mean, I essentially had to be forced to make that decision. Like, I knew it in my heart, that it was time to leave, but 2020 gave me a push to do that.
Yeah. Was there anything else about that time period or like things going on in your life that that like helped you find that courage?
I mean, my husband is a big support. He's been supporting me since day one, where many partners might be like, "You want to do what? Quit?" I
Yeah.
don't think we can do that right now. So, and it's grown since. So I'm very happy that I have a supportive partner. Um, but that time period, just flashing back and thinking about it, it was a very dark period. There's
Yeah.
a period of just like not knowing what to do.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I feel like, it's as a collective, like everyone was sort of going through the struggle, but as individuals, like that struggle can become so specific to like, people that you lose in your life or opportunities that you feel like are not right for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just think it's really cool that you were able to find your passion throughout all of that. I feel like ultimately that's what makes like creating art so unique is that it comes from like within you and it's something that you can show to the world and also sort of like the collaborative aspect of it of like having a team or having just connections in general.
Yeah. And that's what makes art beautiful, the freedom to just kind of be is what art is, a creativity.
Yeah. And another question I have is, do you have like any passion projects in the works or anything else that you plan for the future that you'd want to share?
I don't have any passion projects in the works right now, but they're in my head. I just need
Yeah.
to actually do them.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, they're in my mind.
Can I
One
ask what they are?
Yeah, one is I want to create a series on the FLI Social page, like create our own content. And then another one is I'd love to create a like an art exhibit, but it's a lot of thinking and planning. I think my brain is like everywhere, so
Yeah.
a lot of training to figure out and talking to people who have done it.
Yeah. What
To
would you do your exhibit on?
Yeah, I would do it on. My best friend passed away last year. She had cancer, so I would do it on. I have this idea of kind of showcasing her life and her voice, and what type of cancer she had, and kind of spread awareness. I got pictures, videos, and then also give voices to other women who've had breast cancer, like taking pictures and doing like short interviews.
Yeah.
That's a more like, I guess I do kind of have a plan for that one. But yeah, it's something I want to do.
Yeah. That seems so powerful. I feel like, based on our conversation that we've had, I've heard that like you use your losses as something to propel you forward creatively. And I think that's so important as an artist because like, obviously we all go through really big tragedies, but
Yeah,
if you're able to sort of transform that into something that you can create and like see right in front of you, it just helps so much with like the healing process and also just having other people identify with that because it's like a
yeah.
collective experience as well.
Yeah, it's like the more you talk about it, the more you see people, it resonates with people. So it's important to talk about it more.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then another question that I had is, what advice would you have for someone who's like an inspiring media maker or entrepreneur, someone that is like wanting to get into this world? What advice would you have for them?
I'd say don't think about it too much, just do it. I run into a lot of people who come and talk to me about their ideas, and I think they think about it too much. Just do it. Who
Yeah.
cares if it isn't perfect? If you go back and look at my pictures that I took for Mimi's Fresh Teas or videos, they do not look good. And we have this joke today where we laugh about how bad those pictures look. My pictures look really good today. But I bet if I looked at my pictures a year ago, I might not like them. So the thing is, just act on it. You will naturally improve at what you're doing. Like, I think my personal motto is like, if you do something enough, you can become an expert. Like, if that's all you're doing, you're definitely going to get better at it. There's no way, like, I don't know, in some rare case, you get worse. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, maybe then it's not for you. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything else that I haven't asked that you would like to share?
Think, I don't think I touched on the split of, oh, yeah, yes, I did. Never mind.
The split
How
of,
split of PDX, Black Unicorn, and Fly
oh,
Social up. I
do
think
you,
I did earlier.
do you want to like reiterate or just
Yeah, I
share the
can
story
elaborate
again?
on it. So yeah, originally PDX Black Unicorn was supposed to be Fly Social. At one point, I was like, "Oh, we can have a hair and a media hub included," and I came to the realization that people knew PDX Black Unicorn for hair, so I wouldn't want to confuse people and just make it worse. So I ended up splitting, splitting the two and then calling, FLI Social what it is today.
Was there like a specific moment where you realized that like the two entities had to be split, or was it just kind of more of a natural progression?
I think back then, a lot of people knew me for PDX Black Unicorn, so I knew like they would be confused if I tried to add media in there. And also, like, you can look at your webpage data. All people were clicking on was the hair directory. Like, I would create these interviews. Sure, they look at it for a little bit, but I think they cared more about which stylist they were going to go to. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
obviously the data shows not to do this.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I guess that also shows that like your goal with PDX Black Unicorn was working. Like people were
Yeah,
looking for these resources, and there it was.
yeah, which is great. That was just me figuring it out.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you and find the work that you do online?
Yeah, so people can follow me at FLI Social on Instagram, or you can send me an email at jayvan@fly.social. Or let's see, the webpage also www.fli.social. And I think, yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Jasmine Vasquez Sierra, here with Producers Corner, and this podcast is a part of MetroEast Community Media, a nonprofit community media center in Gresham, Oregon, that teaches the public how to create their own media. All of our podcast episodes are recorded by members of an educational cohort who gain hands-on experience in our on-site studios. Learn more at metroeast.org if you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to leave us a like, a comment, or review wherever you're tuning in from. And thank you so much. We'll see you next time.